Christmas to everyone. Thank you for joining me. This is an early morning live pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells. It has been 2.5 years since she was reported missing by her family in Rogersville, Tennessee, Beach Creek area, June 15th, 2021. We're going to go back in time to dissect everything that's been said. Not much has been given by authorities, TBI, Hawkins County Police Department, Sheriff's Department. Most of the commentary you have been hearing about Summer Wells has come from the parents and outsiders. And with me, that's a problem. This live stream is going to be pertaining to the red truck. Thank you for joining me. Stay tuned later this afternoon for more content to this network. If you'd like to donate to this network, $McGanty129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are welcome during this live stream. We're going back 6 months to the anniversary of her disappearance. Thank you for joining me. WJHL is the source.
Today marks 2 years since a Hawkins County girl was last seen at her home in the Beach Creek community. Thank you for joining us at 5. I'm Josh Smith.
I'm Sarah Diamond. Summer Wells was reported missing 2 years ago today from her home on Ben Hill Road. There has been an active Amber Alert and investigation into her disappearance ever since.
Yesterday, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released this new age-progressed image of what Summer Wells could look like today. Tonight at 5, we have team coverage on the search for a little girl. Let's begin with Ansley Daniels. She's been following the case from the beginning and joins us here in the studio.
Ansley, have investigators given any updates?
Well, Josh and Sarah, there was no more of a clue as to where Summer is than what investigators had 2 years ago. That photo that you just mentioned is actually the newest piece of information that's been publicly released. I did reach out to the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office for an interview about this case, but I never heard back from Sheriff Ronnie Lawson or the other investigators I reached out to. The FBI and the Wells family private investigators declined interviews with me too. I did reach out to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. They declined an interview, but they did answer a few questions via email. A spokesperson said the agency is still receiving leads, but there are very few, and that most of those tips are theories circling on social media. Asked at what point would this become a cold case? That spokesperson said, quote, as long as agents and detectives have leads to follow, the case will not be classified as cold, end quote. While authorities aren't talking, we did find a neighbor who would. Britt lives about 3 miles away from the Wells family's home. She and her husband don't know them personally, but she did say that this case has changed her small community.
It gets really worried a lot of people. But you know, with something like this happening, nobody wants to lose their child to something of this nature. We're not used to a lot of traffic out this way, but I guess it's just the traffic's picked up. It's people have been closer, looking after each other, looking out for her.
I also spoke to several neighbors off camera who say there has been a lot of action from YouTubers and other crime junkies who are interested in this case. I also personally noticed more no trespassing signs than what I did before. We also spoke to Summer's father, Don Wells.
I have hope in God. He's in control of all things, and so whatever the outcome is, I have hope in God, and one day, either sooner or later, I will be with my daughter again.
You'll hear more from him coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Here we go back to the same old nonsense of talking about being with the child. First, it was the resurrection. Now it's sooner or later. Very sad, pathetic. Pathetic, I don't like to use the word sad. Not much eye contact with Mr. Wells to the camera, but that's to be expected as well. I'm just going through everything. Pertaining to Summer Wells. This is WVLT News.
ever wants to think about it, your child disappears for years. Good evening, glad you're here on 10 Hall.
I'm Brittany Tarwater.
6 months
2
ago.
years ago, on this day, around this very time, investigators began their frantic search to find a missing 5-year-old girl in the rough terrain of the East Tennessee mountains.
A lot of questions still unanswered in this case. Tonight, our Kristen Allen, exclusive interview with Summer Wells' father, Don.
Have you seen this little girl? The search continues this evening for a missing 5-year-old girl from Hawkins County.
Summer Moon Utah Wells. She went missing around 7 o'clock last night,
Having to spend a second night alone, barefoot, in some of East Tennessee's toughest terrain.
The 5-year-old disappeared from her home in a remote area of Hawkins County 29 days ago.
Thousands of tips, yet no information in finding Summer Wells.
To this day, 6 months later, thousands of tips have come in.
Let me stop right here. See, this is where this case is a problem. And this is why I keep trying to tell people, when you repeat different versions, you're not getting it from law enforcement. You're getting it from Don Wells and Candace. And all these different versions were spewed out on YouTube channels and their own channels, so on and so forth. Because law enforcement has never confirmed anything that you've heard via YouTube. Let's make that clear. So all these different versions about the scent and the dog at the road. When I was hearing that a year or two ago, I was thinking to myself, I haven't heard TBI say that. I haven't heard the sheriff's department say that. The fact that in this clip you hear she was barefoot. Well, let the mother tell it. When she spoke to WJHL News, the child was inside the house. So how would you know if she had shoes on or not if you hadn't seen her? See, this is what I'm talking about. Different versions. I'm also going to read you commentary later of information that the child, the dog hit on the scent of her at the road. Somebody allegedly saw some of the children out at the road playing. See, you don't have no verification of anything because TBI has yet to tell you any of those things. And I believe in the TBI report, we hear she was outside. So we go from inside to she's outside barefoot. The dog hit on the end of the road, information from the father. Allegedly, somebody saw some kids outside. Well, can you say definitively it was those kids? Can you say, oh yeah, it was one of those boys that belonged to the Wells? See, it's just he said and she said from random people and Mr. Wells. And I always tell people, always beware of the messenger. Why am I going to believe anything these people have to say when I've seen their barbaric behavior? Blaming social media. Well, you went to social media. You're going to hear, you've heard all that. Oh, my wife's still upset. Oh, the people turned on her. Yeah, because you went to them. And even if they came looking for you, you didn't have to respond. Because you were wanting something out of this, Mr. Don. You wanted something out of this fiasco that I do believe you and your wife created. So you can't blame the YouTubers, social media commentary for something you went seeking for and you allowed into your life. You all started this. Nobody even knew you existed back there in the holler, and nobody knew your children existed. So you went eagerly seeking attention, and then you get angry. Oh, these people turned on us. Oh, they came down here causing problems. Well, you didn't have to entertain them. And especially if you know you have something to do with the girl missing, why would you be trying to talk to these people anyway? That makes no logical sense to me. But see, this is what happens with a narcissist and sociopaths and psychopaths. They have to be the center of attention. As you heard here, I will be with her sooner or later. Well, I don't know that you'll be with her sooner or later because that's up to God to decide if he wants to let you into heaven. Let's keep it real now. See, still talking about yourself. Talking about yourself.
but still no sign of Summer Wells.
Today marks 1 year since 5-year-old Summer
Hello,
Wells
honey.
went missing. The TBI says the case, including the Amber Alert, are still active.
The search for Summer Wells still continues.
The silence here on Ben Hill Road is almost deafening. It's been 2 years since Summer Wells disappeared. The Wells property, once filled with police, search and rescue teams, and members of the Wells family, now sits quietly.
I'm Summer's dad.
Summer's father, Don Wells, says his home in Hawkins County was once filled with joy.
It was really pretty awesome, you know. I always look forward to coming home to the kids and having a good time with them. I worked all the time, but I always loved to come home.
I visited the Hawkins County site of Summer's disappearance and spoke with Wells on FaceTime. Though he is out of town this week, he's remembering the events of June 15th, 2021.
When I got home, and there was a couple of police cars there, so we was really scared to death, and we was just hoping, you know, for the first few days that she'd be found.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation activated an Amber Alert for 5-year-old Summer Wells on June 16th of 2021. In the following days, 19 agencies and hundreds of volunteers were called in to help in the search.
I want to encourage the public, especially residents living in the area of Ben Hill Road, to check any trail cameras or security cameras that they might have that could have captured Summer on video or in photographs.
Unreliable cell phone service and rocky terrain created hurdles for law enforcement and volunteers. For 10 days straight, hundreds of people combed the most remote parts of Hawkins County to no avail.
Very interesting. I'm very glad I found this clip. The lady here says, unreliable cell phone service, rocky terrain made it difficult for this investigation. Now, I'm going to read you commentary later. Has Don Wells allegedly saying, TBI says nobody phone pinged back here. Stay woke, everybody. Now, yes, they're telling you because of the service is spotty. So think about it. If it's spotty, I guess a phone wouldn't ping, Mr. Wells. See, once again, you're not hearing that from TBI, Mr. Wells. You don't know what TBI said to him. You don't know what the sheriff's department said to him. You don't know about a scent, a dog scent of the child at the road, down the street, because you have never heard them say anything about a dog scent. The few times I've watched them give commentary, which has not been that many times, I don't remember hearing them say anything about cell phone tower pings, scent of a child at the end of the driveway, because this goes back to what I said about the different versions, the 911 dispatch call. All this commentary is all over the place. And it's not coming from law enforcement. That's why they always tell you, don't listen at he said, she said, speculations, innuendos. If you don't hear it from us, then you can't believe the information. Because what did I tell you about a story? Everything is about a version. This whole story is about what these people have told law enforcement. And you can see the discrepancies every time you listen to a different news broadcast. We go from WJHL, the girl was in the house. Then it went to a TBI report, she was outside. This report is WVLT Channel 8 News here in Knoxville. Outside, barefoot. Father telling you the dog hit a scent at the end of the road, but police didn't tell you that. And that's where you should be leery. Who is the person doing the talking in the story? Why is he doing the talking in the story when he allegedly was not here, present at the house when the child allegedly went missing?
Saturday, June 26th, it seemed like there was a break in the case. The TBI asked for the public's help finding a 1998 to 2000 red Toyota truck seen near Ben Hill Road around the time of Summer's disappearance. That truck's driver was never identified. And that was the last potential clue the TBI released to the public. So how could a 5-year-old girl vanish from this remote area? How did she just disappear? Conspiracy theorists around the world have drawn their own conclusions, but none of those have ever been proven. The TBI says there's no evidence Summer was ever abducted, but her father tells us he has a theory of his own.
I think that this is some kind of a professional situation that took her and was probably watching for a while.
His theories don't stop there.
I mean, she's obviously not in school anywhere, and there's no record of her anywhere, so she's either,
How would you know that this was a professional, Mr. Wells? You live in the middle of nowhere. When you start watching these clips of Ben Hill Road, this lady is standing outside filming this news broadcast with nothing around. There are no buildings, there are no sidewalks, street signs, playgrounds, just land. So a professional who wants to steal children, human traffic, however you want to word it, he, she, or they just drove by a road that led to Ben Hill Road and said to themselves as a professional, I wonder what's up that driveway there. I wonder if there's a little girl up there that I could take. Stay woke now. Human traffickers take people who are out in the open, people they can get a hold to, lure, such as a runaway, children walking by on street sidewalks, coming from the store, going to the store, bus stops. Stay woke, everybody. I can't see somebody with a human trafficking ring wanting to go out in the middle of nowhere where 9 times out of 10, you're not going to even see any children walking because they know better than to walk on the barren roads because there are no sidewalks here. Ding, ding, ding. They know not to go up roads where a person could be standing up there with a rifle or a shotgun. Make it make sense. See, this leads me to believe these people are involved because all of the commentary you hear about Summer Wells comes from the father's mouth only, not law enforcement.
Someone's basement, or she's deceased, or we just don't know, or in another country. I think it's fairly easy to get anything out of the country, in my opinion. It's not easy to get into the country, but it sure is easy to get out of the country.
2 years later, Wells says the only evidence he's aware of is that a police dog tracked Summer Scent here to Ben Hill Road. He does believe somebody took her, but he doesn't know whether or not she's still alive.
Do you believe Summer's still alive?
I have no idea. I have no clue.
Once again, you now hear this lady saying it, but she didn't say law enforcement said the scent stopped at the road. The dog tracked it. She said, he said. See, this is where I have a problem. And I wish law enforcement, when they first heard him tell this version to the public, social media, whatever, that they came out and said, yes, we had canines out on the property and they tracked her scent to the end of the road. That's all I want to hear. Because like I said, they have not given me any updates in 2.5 years. And I haven't yet to hear that come out of law enforcement's mouth about the canine. Because they rarely say anything. And just like the clip I played you earlier with Ansley speaking, she said we sent them emails They answered a few questions. Well, honey, why didn't you just tell us what you asked? You said, oh, well, they didn't really give us any information. Okay, but still tell the public what questions you asked TBI. And why haven't we gotten an update from TBI? Just to say, hey, we don't have anything. You don't have anything? You don't have any leads? Okay, cool. Just tell us, hey, we don't have anything. We just thought we'd let you all know we're still currently investigating the disappearance of Summer Wells. We do not have any leads. The information about the truck, it has been unfounded. We never found out who drove the truck. We've never put a make on the truck. Whatever that you found, why not just tell us, and then that'd be the end of that.
If she is, I mean, I really don't know. There's no way to tell.
There are still very few clues, despite investigators working with thousands of hours on this case. Numerous search warrants, cell phone data analyzed, and other evidence collected, and not one sign of Summer. Wells says he spent hundreds of sleepless nights wondering where his little girl is. So I asked him, do you know what happened to Summer?
I don't know how you answer a question like that. I mean, I've had that question asked to me before. I mean, if I asked you that question, how would you answer?
Okay, right here, word shuffle. Nobody can tell me they're not involved. I'm glad I found this interview by WVLT, Knoxville's own Channel 8 News. The lady is asking you, do you know what happened to Summer Wells? And you tell her, I don't know how to answer that. How do you answer that? And then he shifts the question back to her. How would you answer? Well, I think she would say, no, I don't know what happened to my child. If she didn't know, and even if she did know, she would lie. Who the hell answers a question like that about their damn missing kid? I don't know how to answer that. And then takes it and shifts it back to her. But that's what people do when they deflect. They're deflecting because they have guilty knowledge. That's my opinion. No decent person is going to say that. You're going to say, I have no idea what happened to my child. I've racked my brain trying to figure out what happened to my child. I've come up with every theory known to man. I haven't a clue. I wish I knew something. That's what you would say when asked, do you know what happened to your child? You don't sit there and say, oh, oh my God. This is the first time the queen is speechless. I can't even gather my thoughts right now. It's too early. This is typical BS from people who know something. They talk in circles. Typical behavior of a pathological liar. This is so obvious. We've been asked this question so many times. Okay, well, if you've been asked so many times, then you should have no problem giving a direct answer. No, ma'am, I do not know what happened to my child.
The TBI says Summer's Amber Alert is still active and investigators continue to search to find her. In the meantime, this shrine to Summer sits at the entrance of her home. The TBI says it's questioned sex offenders who live in the area, neighbors, and Summer's own parents. Summer would now be 7 years old. If she still is alive, Dawn has this message for whoever took her.
The only thing I can say is please let her go home. Let her have her freedom and her life.
You may remember this. Kristen Summer has 3 other siblings. A lot of people may be wondering where they are now. Do you know?
Yeah, so Don told me he feels like his 3 other kids have been kidnapped too. We do know for sure they're all 3 in DCS custody.
All right, TBI says this case is one of the most exhaustive missing child cases they have ever investigated.
Yeah, the agency says it's received thousands of tips, but the twist with this one is a lot of those tips are based off of rumors and speculation.
There was a big point
Thank
made
you.
early on
Thank
in the
you.
investigation. If you don't know for
Exactly.
sure, don't give us your tips.
That's right.
Because so
That's
much
right.
junk was passed on. All right, we do have a full timeline, everything that's happened in this case. You can find it in the WVLT News app. Kristen, thanks.
Exactly. You don't know what happened. You have no business calling a tip line Crime Stoppers 1-800-FIND somebody. So you hear it here. The case has been built on nothing but conspiracies, rumors, and a father bringing forward his own conspiracies of basements and out of the country. That's why I always said this when I covered this case. Don't bring me a he said, she said. Don't bring me a rumor. Bring me something that TBI, the Sheriff's Department, found with a receipt. Because everything I've read in the comments for the past couple of days has been something Don Wells said. Let me say that again. Damn near every comment about Summer Wells has been out of the mouth of Don Wells, not TBI. This is not a cold case. There's still a current Amber Alert of Summer Wells. It will not become a cold case until there are no more information, tips coming in. The tips are few, they said here in this commentary. So that leads us back to the red truck. 9 times out of 10, it could be nothing. Could have been nothing. I don't know. Rumor, speculation. Don's boss had a red truck. Going to bring you that from a woman. I believe she has a YouTube channel. She had put up a post a while back. Very interesting. Red truck unfounded. Don't know the driver. Won't tell us who called the tip in. Naturally, they're not going to do that. Allegedly, it was somebody in the area that frequented the area that saw the truck, but then they don't really remember the day they saw the truck. So now we're getting boy H syndrome, not having a good memory, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're talking about a child missing, a person missing, you need accurate information in order to perfect the tip. Because we can't go on tips if you're not really sure of the timeline, the day. All that's pivotal when a person's life is at stake. We have to have something concrete. This content has been from 2 years ago. This is a year ago. Let's see what they're talking about here. Thank you all for joining me. You're now listening to the Vault XL, everybody. Going back in time.
So right now, a story we've been watching for you for the past several days, investigating after video recorded of a child inside a church the family of Summer Wells attends was posted on YouTube. According to a report, officers were told Sunday that a woman posted footage of a child at the church to YouTube. That video, though, has been taken down. The 5-year-old, though, has been missing since June 15th. The Wells family has been under intense scrutiny by investigators and the public since Summer Wells went missing. The police report filed by an unnamed person says the recording incident occurred earlier in the month, and when asked, Father Don said had occurred at the Kingsport Seventh-day Adventist Church, but did not elaborate. Several parts of the report are redacted because it contains information about an underage child. But the person behind the report says a woman who allegedly shot the video made accusations of kidnapping. Monday, Don Wells said protesters had come to the family's home and had followed Summer's mother.
What was the video? I'm curious. She was kidnapped. So you're going to tell me that somebody would... The church kidnapped her and they filmed it? That makes no sense. See, this is what they're talking about. The conspiracy. Looping everybody into a story when you have no proof of nothing. These people are in the middle of nowhere. You don't know them. You don't know their friends. You don't know their family members. You don't know who they talk to. You don't know who's been to the house. You don't know who had access to the house. You're going from the guy in the van that was camping out. You got the creepy guy that's the drunk that like grandma. You've got other people who came to the house to visit. You have no concrete nothing because you don't know these people. This is why I try not to say who could have took somebody, killed somebody, murdered somebody, when the people, you don't know nothing about the people. As I said before with the Idaho 4 case, 4 people are dead in a house. How in the world can you decide who the killer was when you're talking about 4 students, 4 separate friendships, courtships, because you don't know. And all that dagger throwing against a guy who used to date one of the girls, look where that went, south. As I said, that boy could have killed himself. They find a suspect 15 minutes away in the state of Washington at Washington State University by the name of Brian C. Korberger. This is why you have to be very careful. But then one can say, well, Angela, you think these people did it. How's that different? Because all roads lead back to these people. That's why I say that. Because in the end, all the commentary, all the rumors have never been spoken by TBI. That's why I feel these people are involved. Because when you look at the surrounding of the area, the drone footage of the house, somebody still would have to have knowledge of the victim to say they went up to the property to take this little girl. I don't see some random person just walking about aimlessly on Barron Road searching for a child to kidnap. These are not even places where you go kidnap people. You still would have to have had knowledge of the little girl. So that leads me to believe, if I wanted to, that if it was a kidnapper wanting a child, he or she had to have known the victim. Not some random person riding through. Because as you see, when the girl was standing there at the road doing the reporting, she's on another road that led to Ben Hill. So that should tell you something right there. I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere. Or the road is, or basically what I'm trying to say, it's barren. I'll put it like that. It's a barren area. And East Tennessee is filled with barren land, just grass and trees. And you can't just go say to yourself, I think there's somebody with a child up there, a little girl up there, up that road. You don't even know what's up the drive until you get up there. I found it interesting looking at all the little posters and things of, outside the gate. They put up a little makeshift gate, little flowers and everything last year, 6 months ago. And one would say, do you want me to believe you actually care for your child? You sitting here 2 years later talking in circles, just randomly talking in circles in interviews, still doing the same thing you did 2 years ago, giving us fluff for more gossip. That's what I saw in these interviews. More fluff. Thank you for joining me.
Two years ago tonight, Summer Wells went missing from her Hawkins County.
The suffering in the Summer Wells community is palpable. The pain of having a little girl just disappear without a trace, made even worse by the online harassment and attacks from outside the area and online. People accusing those of trying to help Summer of somehow being involved in her disappearance simply because they knew her and loved her. Many now refusing to speak on camera because of the threats they've received. One woman is finally breaking her silence after more than a year in hopes of inspiring others to pray and to send a message to Summer.
And you are loved and you are missed so very much.
Robin Lane, Summer Wells Sabbath School teacher,
Summer is just the most amazing little girl.
Had a one-of-a-kind friendship.
If you notice here, Robin speaks to Summer in present tense. How about that? Summer is the most is, not was. But yet the parents speak of the child in past tense. And one could say, well, that's an easy mistake to make. Because when I went to a vigil, that's probably about 2 years ago, of a young lady, her friend got up and spoke, and she spoke of her in past tense. And everybody was there saying, no, don't say past tense, speak in present tense. But she was nervous, and it was an easy mistake to make. But then when you continually keep talking about your child in past tense, people are going to wonder, especially when you're talking about a child past tense 2 weeks into investigation. I'd say that's a problem.
With this little ball of energy.
Yes, we really clicked because Summer is just kind of silly and goofy, and I am too. You can ask people who know me; they know that I'm just a silly, goofy girl. And so I think we just kind of clicked in that way, that she could hang out with me, and we would just laugh at the same stuff and giggle at silly, stupid things.
The giggling silenced. 2 years now, with the community still looking for answers.
We miss her a lot. Just we miss the love, the hugs. I miss her hugs so much. She's a very loving child.
A child who thrived when she felt that love right back.
Yeah, she really did. She came to me a lot and just wanted to be held and wanted to get attention, and I love to give attention, so it worked out good.
It's been a life-changing 2 years for Summer's special friend and teacher.
I lost my mom and my dad since Summer went missing. So just add that on top of losing a little girl and missing her so much, it has been overwhelming. And I don't sleep a lot. There's a lot of times where I just lay in bed and I just pray.
A hole in her heart for those lost, and the pain of not knowing where could this vibrant child be. The smiling little girl who gifted Robin a necklace so proudly on Mother's Day.
I just felt like, Summer's kind of like a daughter to me. It feels just like I lost a child that I just was so precious and so dear. That's what it feels like.
But Robin says even when things are darkest, she sees something bigger.
I've already been inspired so many times by people who have told me that praying for Summer has made them start praying again. That because they're praying for Summer, that it has made them start talking to God again. And they might have been angry at God, they might have stopped talking to God, but because this little girl's missing and they care about her, they're praying for her. And in the process of praying for Summer, they're starting to have a closer walk with the Lord themselves.
That inspiration has helped her forgive those who've used Summer's case as clickbait, silencing the voices of those speaking out for Summer, hoping to help in her safe return.
And it makes everyone just want to back off and hands off because they don't want to be next. And I really feel like the answer to that is to pray for God to soften their hearts and to help them because they're hurting people too. Initially I would get angry, and now I'm just like trying to view them as people who need prayer just as much as Summer does.
And as Robin prays for Summer, she has this message for her.
Summer, if you are out there, I just want you to know, little girl, that you are treasured and that you are adored and you are loved and you are missed so very much. And I just want you to know that we are not giving up on finding you, that we are not going to lose hope in finding you. And I just want you to know that I am praying to our Heavenly Father every day for you, and I will not stop. Nobody is giving up, and I know I definitely won't give up. So just be strong, little one. Hang in there, and don't forget those Bible verses. Remember them. God is a very present help in trouble, that He will be with you, that He will answer you. Just cry out to Him. We love you.
All right, that's Robin Lane. 6 months ago, News 5 WCYB is the source. Just going through the YouTube queue with the updates from the summer, which would have marked 2 years that the reported missing from Rogersville, Tennessee. My condolences to Miss Robin for losing both of her parents, because 2 years, that's a lot of death to deal with, including the disappearance of Summer Wells. And I don't want to seem mean to Robin, but my thing, just like you feel like the people have been cruel to the family and clickbait for Summer Wells, well, my thing is this. I feel the same way about all of you who have come out supporting this family, knowing their ratchet behavior. So some of us will say the same with you supporting them and taking pictures with them. And why would you want to be involved? That's me. And my thing is, it doesn't even have anything to do with Christianity. I can support a person without being public, especially when you're talking about something as heinous as a child missing. You don't know who's involved. You've got a lot of flack coming from social media. I don't think I would be out publicly, taking photographs with people and being around them. Because like I told you, you don't know the people out here. You have a lot of sicko wackos. And yes, a lot of these YouTubers, they're just as sick as this family. I'm going to say that because you are exhibiting weird behavior like these people. So yeah, how are you different? And I understand what she's saying, that people who are, I guess, in their corner or wanted to speak out were ostracized, threatened. And of course, nobody has any business threatening, robbing the church, because you don't know these people. You don't know that they're involved. You have no receipt to anything. It should be obvious if TBI doesn't even give you an update. You should already know this is a bad, bad situation. So randomly picking out people who you saw standing in the background on the news in the beginning, you have no business reaching out to them in the messenger, stalking them, going to the church. See, that's off limits. And this is when you know people don't have any respect. So it's not even about Summer. You're just trying to get content for a YouTube video, a blog, podcast, whatever the hell you got going on. You have to know your line. And as most of you know who follow my content, I live in East Tennessee. I know how to get to Robertsville, but I'm not going to go up to somebody's house, banging on the door. I'm not going to stand at the driveway. I'm not going to get hit by a car or a tractor trailer to prove what? To make a video. I'm not going to go bang on the doors of the church because I respect the church. That's one place I'm definitely not venturing into with cameras and sitting in the pew with the cameras going, trying to get information. That's so disrespectful and vile. And that lets me know you don't even have respect for yourself. You don't have respect for God because you don't play those games in the church. And see, a person who has respect for the Lord and the church knows that's sacred. And you have no evidence that those people took this kid. And I'm sure a lot of those people felt really horrible when they found out that the little girl went missing. And then when all that gossip started with social media, they probably felt like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Who are these people that we've allowed to come into church, we've helped? I'm sure a lot of people thought that. They probably never say it out loud. They'll never say it on camera. But they're entitled to their opinion as well. Who are these Wells people that we have allowed to come into the church? We have tried to be good people and help these people. And now all they do is go sit up on social media drunk and belligerent and talking about God and Jesus Christ. Donald Wells has been more blasphemous than the average person I've ever met in my entire life. Keep talking about God, God, God. But yet you go sit up on a social media camera just ignified. And then when the news cameras find you, you want to start quoting scriptures and talking about the resurrection and, oh, I hope to see her again. You don't know that you're ever going to see her again in the afterlife because you don't even know where you're going. Only God knows where you're going. See, all this is blasphemous right here. What I call pimping Jesus. So what you're accusing YouTubers and other random people of doing, you have done it. And you drew these people into you. And like I said, even if the people reached out to the Wells, you did not have to respond. That was a choice to respond to people. You didn't have to talk to one vlogger, blogger, random person in your messenger. That's a choice. You reported the child missing. You've been the mouthpiece for this story, even though you allegedly weren't there. And now it's everybody else's fault that this case has gotten out of control and the meddling has hindered the investigation. Well, I'm sure it has hindered when you have thousands of people calling a tip line talking about psychic this and I got a premonition and the Lord told me where she was and she's in a well. She's on the property. She's in the pond. She's in the lake. The church took her. The flute guy took her. Robin took her. Oh, I see. I got a video they kidnapped her in the church, and she's in the basement, and I think she's in somebody's cellar. She's in somebody's attic. Oh my God, I think she's in Mexico. Oh my God, they've got the cartel involved. Oh, it's the cornbread mafia. We've got all this drug trafficking going on. How are you going to talk about drug trafficking, Mr. Wells, when you're an addict yourself and you gladly went and made videos talking about buying cocaine in Knoxville? Help me understand. See, this is what I'm talking about. Just the blatant disrespect for this little girl. But yet everybody else is profiting off of her. But weren't you doing the same? Some of you thought that, they just ran, reported a miss, they're trying to get the reward money. Well, everybody knows the family can't get the reward money. Crime Stoppers is not about to give the person that filed a missing report the reward money. It doesn't work like that. So if that was their reason for knocking off their child, think again. Is YouTube an easy hustle? It can be. You get the right victims. As I've told you before, YouTube is $1 billion industry. It makes money off its content, no matter what it is. And as I've told many people, getting angry at people talking about Summer Wells, it's easy, of course, if you see that there's something sinister behind the message. That's normal. But in the end, you're not running to New York, cussing out the people at CBS. You're not running over here to WATE News and News 5 about their content about Summer Wells and what they said. You're not stalking those news people. You're not stalking the producers of the show. What's the difference? Because right now, you are looking at a YouTube screen with millions rows of content pertaining to Summer Wells by legitimate news sources. And you people who are defunct in the brain, why aren't you stalking these people? Because I've got rows of videos I can just go through. See, that's why people are not mentally adapt. You pick and choose who you want to stalk and harass to say, don't talk about Summer. You shouldn't be talking about Summer. You're making money off of Summer. Everybody says that, but yet, who do you think is collecting from this video? 10,000 views over there, 118,000 from a year ago. Somebody gets money for this video. That's my point I'm trying to make. And everybody's throwing daggers. But the point is, this is an industry about money. That is the purpose of the YouTube. We bring content. We allow you to upload content. And at some point when you partner, we're going to get a share of that content. So as I've told many people, if you want to be angry with somebody about content on YouTube, you might want to contact the owner of YouTube. Because in the end, he, she, or they get the bulk of the money from YouTube. That's why I said it really doesn't matter what a person is talking about on their channel or if they're even a partner with YouTube. In the end, YouTube is the biggest winner. Let's get on with the next content, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Let's see what Dr. Phil has to say pertaining to
June 15th, 2021. It was just normal.
Sorry about that. Just going through the YouTube queue pertaining to Summer Wells. Thank you for joining me. So in 2 to 3 minutes, Candace Blythe, how was someone gotten in to take her out if you never even went inside the camper? Thank you very much. This is why it's good to always go back into the book of life and listen to what people have to say pertaining to the day the event happened. I'll just let that sit right there. Your mother sat on the step, assumingly you fixed the knee brace. So how would a person have had time to get her out? Because where that camper sits, you still would have a view of somebody coming up the driveway, walking, when you hear them walking on the gravel. Was the door locked, unlocked to the basements? Just saying. Then the person has to be able to come out. So 2 minutes is nothing. So then I got to ask, how long would it take to do whatever you had to do with your mother's knee, if we're to believe that version? And grandma, is that the truth that the little girl went inside and your daughter helped you with the knee brace? What is she speaking of? Blue minivan. Is that the van that the guy drove that was staying on the property? Are you baiting these people, ma'am? Because let me tell you something about people who are involved in crime. They're being interrogated, asked questions. It's easy to throw other people under the bus in an also delicate manner as to take the attention and the focus off of them. Now, I have been reading different things as of late, and that blue van that I heard was allegedly linked to the guy who was homeless or whatever, and if I'm not mistaken, living on an adjacent property to the wells. This person has also been mentioned, but common sense should tell you TBI has already hunted all these people down. Your Andy, this guy, the drunk. Oh, you can best believe they have went and found these people to talk to them and get some type of understanding of why somebody would even implicate them in the disappearance of Summer Wells. If this is true, that the guy who was sleeping on the adjacent property, who owned the property, owned a blue van, how convenient would it be that Candace would mention this on a TV show? Stay woke.
People think you're a monster, but that's important to getting facts. Do you know what happened to Summer?
No.
Do you know who took Summer?
No.
We actually hit harder on the questions for what happened that day. When did this happen? How long was it before this happened?
When you come home, when you first come
I'm
home.
not going all of that. I can't do this.
See what I'm saying? Right there. These people have contacted you, producers of this show, to ask you to come to their location to talk about the disappearance of your child. You knew you didn't want to do the interview, Candace. Why would you agree for somebody to spend their money to fly you out there, put you up in a hotel, probably gave you a food allowance, to sit there all of 5 seconds and say, I don't want to do this? They're not berating you. They're not talking down to you. They're just asking you basic questions. And as you heard Mr. Don Wells say, there were times when the authorities were nice to them and then not so nice to them. Well, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for the interview where they weren't so nice, because I'd like to hear the questions they asked and your responses. And I also found it interesting that this year, you all aren't really talking to TBI and the Sheriff's Department directly. You're using a private investigator. And to me, that's a very bad sign. So to say, oh, we are complying with law enforcement. How are you complying with law enforcement, staying in touch with them through a private investigator? Our way. Your child is missing. It's an ongoing investigation. There's still an Amber Alert, but somebody else is the mouthpiece to talk on your behalf. Hell, not even a lawyer, but a private investigator. This is why I keep telling you all to pay attention to every little thing that has been said, because those are the details that give you a glimpse into who these people are and if they are involved or possibly not involved. And I'm still going to say all roads lead to these two people. And now with all these news clippings of versions of the little girl being outside, I know damn well something happened to her. by these folks right here. Because the police is getting these versions from you, not social media, not Pookie, not Ray Ray, not Bubba. The day you reported your child missing, you gave this information to the police because nobody knew you called 911. So why is the news saying she's outside without no shoes on? No, you told them that because that's possibly how she played outside. But that's not what you told WJHL, Candace. She was inside the house. Oh, I'm over here working with a knee brace 2 minutes. That didn't sound right. You go to this show, they ask you all one question, you want to start crying and run off.
Question from...
So what's the difference? You're trying to put it eloquently, but she knew that the people were going to ask her questions. So why would you waste these people's time by flying out there to get one question and then all of a sudden, you know, like, oh, I've been through this. Oh, I ain't got nothing else to say. And it ain't helping me. What you mean it's not helping you? You knew this before you went out there. You didn't have to go. See, this is why I know there's something wrong with these people. You want to blame everybody for this child being gone. But we have nothing to do with what was going on at 110 Ben Hill Circle, Road, Avenue, Lane. This is your life. You were rearing those children. You got all these jacked up problems. You were hanging around all these crazy ass people. You were letting these people come up to your property, drunk, inebriated, spending the night, sleeping on the floor. Everybody comes out with a version of what happened at Ben Hill Circle Road, what I did when I was there, what I saw when I was there. You're entitled to believe it or not. The point I'm making is this was your life, and now you want to be mad at everybody when nobody knew who you were except for the few little people on Ben Hill Road. You did this. You brought these people into your life. You went searching for attention on YouTube. Nobody told you to get involved with a YouTuber. Nobody told you to take donations, money, gifts. You did this to yourself. And as the old saying goes, payback is a MF. Now, we found out later she's alive. Somebody comes forward to say, yes, I kidnapped her. Then I can gladly say, oh, I was wrong. But their behavior made me suspicious that they were involved. I don't have a problem. I've done it a year or so ago with the case in Georgia of the woman who was found in the woods set on fire, Miss Debbie. Thought her daughter had something to do with it. Because the daughter had a very jacked up life, into drugs, lying. The fact that she had just came into town, that the mother goes missing that Saturday. And so a lot of us thought the daughter and maybe the boyfriend was involved. We didn't know. But then I tell myself, this is why, yes, you shouldn't judge the situation. Don't say who you think killed somebody. Wait for the evidence to come out. Well, there's no evidence here. All we have is the father talking. And I just find it odd and suspicious that the person who wasn't there is the mouthpiece. And the person who was there cries on whim in one interview, snatching off microphones, but then can give one version to WJHL, give another version to give an interview to the interview room, but then when you fly out to see Dr. Phil or these people, all of a sudden, we got to snatch off microphones. Stay woke. This ain't helping me. Well, this ain't helping get justice for your daughter either. How about that? Very sad. Let's go to the infamous Jody Sue. We're going to go down to the BS, because God knows it's just, oh my God. Red truck. Who was driving the truck? Number one. Where was the truck and who called it in? Because that seems to be a dead lead. Did Don Wells have access to a red truck? And it was the truck that was seen that day by a bystander. Thank you for joining me.
Wrong. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't an
Wait a minute, let me go back.
The Wells family lives across the street from a neighboring property. On mirroring mountains, together they can be described as sentinels, which sit high over Ben Hill Road. The night Summer went missing, the neighbor swears that she and her two...
Before we go there, this was uploaded 2 years ago. Behind Ansley is a sign of a security camera. Was that camera working the day Summer Wells went missing? Say what?
Children heard a scream shortly before they joined the search for a now missing Summer Wells.
It's there, but you want to forget.
On the watch and hypervigilant. That's how Jody Sue Brown was the very day Summer Wells went missing.
There's no TV, no noise at all.
Jody Sue was in her cabin with her teenage kids, 19 and 14, waiting for anything.
We were kind of hyper alert because of property things that had happened the day before. So we were listening for noise, everything was kind of quiet.
The sale brought a plethora of people to their door, confused about which piece of land was for sale, leading to a dispute of property lines.
While we were out at one point doing survey lines, and there was a flash of a car that went up Candace and Donnie's driveway. Something about it struck me wrong.
She and her family next heard a truck door slamming and dismissed it as their neighbors. The next sound was harder to justify. About an hour and a half before Summer is thought to go missing, Jody Sue, her son, and her daughter heard something far more suspicious. A scream.
Stopped all three of us cold.
Her daughter was the first to go to the cabin door. Then all three were there, listening still.
We heard just this kind of shrill, almost animalistic scream.
Animalistic, but not an animal.
Knew it was, wrong. It wasn't a dog, it wasn't an animal.
That vigilance kicking into overdrive. Jody Sue and her son went out to look for the source of the scream.
My son and I decided to go out, look and see what we could see. We went back onto the bank, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything.
They went on with their evening. The kids returned to being kids. Jody Sue headed down her driveway around 6 to tend to flowers.
And at this point, I start hearing Candace hollering for Summer. And then my brain immediately went, scream earlier, this, uh-oh.
Jody Sue was the first to hear those calls and the first to join the search for Summer.
I dropped my purse. I tried to yell up to Candace. I was like, I'm looking, and I started looking.
Jody Sue searched one side of the creek, Summer's brothers the opposite side. And you gave statements to the police, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Jody Sue had been interviewed many times by investigators, bringing up the scream often. But the sheriff doesn't believe the scream is related to the disappearance of Summer Wells.
She's been interviewed numerous times by not only my agency, but the TBI and FBI, and we don't find anything with that complaint.
We don't find anything
related to this case.
Oh, Lord.
Sue wishes she could go back to just a short time before Summer disappeared and before the scream she believes was Summer.
Wish every day that when I heard that scream, I hadn't even tried to dismiss it.
Referencing the work of the FBI, TBI, and his own deputies, Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson reiterated in an interview the same week as Jody Sue's that investigators have found absolutely no proof that an abduction has taken place in the Beach Creek community. Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Well, did Jody Sue hear a scream? And what could you have done, Jody Sue? If you are so many feet, yards from the edge of the road, that means it's common sense. You couldn't you couldn't have gotten to the road to save the child or whatever was going on if you're nowhere near. That's just common sense. Because a lot of times people do hear screams, hollering, and they don't get up. Because some people don't want to be bothered. They don't care. So first and foremost, did she and her children hear a scream? Was the scream that of Summer Wells? Was the little girl kidnapped? If I'm to believe this version, then that means Summer Wells did not mind her parents and she went down off the property. How about that? You entitled to your opinion. And I'm not here to dwell on none of this because you don't know what to believe pertaining to this little girl. We're not going to do no general release conversations. Just bringing you all the latest pertaining to the child.
And Monday will mark 5.
Lack of information. See, that's the whole point of this story. Lawson says we can't verify this, blah, blah, blah. That's expected.
Last seen. The 5-year-old disappeared from her Hawkins County home in June and hasn't been seen since. But the TBI is not giving up on that search. News Channel 5's Aaron Cantrell joins us this morning with more. And Aaron, we know there have been thousands of tips in this case.
Yeah, Amy, a lot of tips, but not a lot of factual information, a lot of social media rumors, and that's why the TBI and the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, they're going very frustrated about the misinformation and the lack of information coming in on this investigation. This is what they're working with. They are searching a rural area there in East Tennessee, and with very few businesses, and all available surveillance photos and videos have been collected and reviewed, and neighborhood canvases were conducted in an effort to make sure they didn't miss any residential cameras. In addition to the exhaustive ground searches, the TBI says dozens of aerial searches have been conducted as well. Dive teams were brought in to explore waterways in the area, and canine teams specializing in a variety of search methods have been utilized. They have also executed numerous search warrants, and any potential digital evidence has been collected, including social media accounts. TBI, they do want to find Summer Wells, and they want factual information. So if you do have information about the disappearance of 5-year-old Summer Wells, you're asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Now, there is a private account, a reward set up for any information leading to the whereabouts of Summer Wells. That's at $60,000. I'll send it back to you all.
Well, as most of you know, that reward was disbanded and broke up and went to court because of a meddling female from the UK. And it was bad enough that we had parents that appear evasive and disruptive to the investigation, as well as social media wannabe detectives. This is the point that I've always tried to make in talking about Summer Wells and other cases. I don't know what's wrong with some of you out here. You've got some type of madness going on inside your head, but there comes a point when you have to know your lane. And this is an ongoing investigation. It was an ongoing investigation when it started. You have no right calling these people with fake tips, hoaxes, made up stuff you heard from a YouTuber or on the street or Facebook. What would even possess you to call somebody with something you know you don't have a receipt to? Meddling with the reward fund and worrying about who was raising money for the little girl and where the money went to. See, all of this was a distraction. People who just have nothing better to do than sit up and scroll social media day in and day out, looking for stuff to stir up. To me, that was the most disrespectful thing, messing with the reward fund. If anybody had a problem with the reward money, it should have been the people who were donating the money. That's who should have had a complaint. Not somebody sitting all the way across the pond chewing on chocolates all damn day, worrying about what the hell we got going on over here in America. Yeah, I'm going to say that because it was so disrespectful. You caused all these problems because of one black woman and a damn reward fund. When, like I said, the people who sent money in from her channel to whoever channel or their own checkbook, what do you have to do with that? That was none of your business. Because people give money to YouTubers, Patreon accounts, Red Cross. That's between them and their checkbook. You don't have to donate through somebody's channel. The rescue squad told you how to donate the money. They told you where the money was. They told you the name of the bank. They told you how to write out the check. That's on you. And it was a disgrace for Summer Wells because there are some of us who are concerned about the safety of the young girl and trying to get justice for her. And you get this one meddling ass person, and probably some others too, and all of a sudden, we're talking about going to court about some damn reward money. It's like, how did we go from this to this? Now, it's all over. No reward money. You don't hear nobody try to raise no more reward money. And who's going to try to open up another account for this little girl? Nobody. Because nobody wants that on their back. And I don't blame them. This is what TBI is talking about. This excessive meddling. And I tell people all the time, I don't want to hear nothing about what somebody else is doing on another network and who's on the ground helping. How in the world could you in your right mind at this point, 2.5 years later, say these people were helping with the case? Stalking people, following people to their jobs, their driveways, banging on people's doors and trailers. As you hear these people saying they felt threatened, they didn't feel safe because these people are coming around. They don't know you. They don't know what your intentions are. You're running around with iPhones and cameras and shit. They don't know you. And they don't know your true intention. And as we've seen, a lot of you have had problems thereafter with your YouTube channels, all because of this Summer Wells mess. So everybody's intention was not genuine. So now you fast forward 2.5 years later, we have no updates. We have no information. We have nothing. So I think what TBI has said is the truth. You people have just made a mockery out of this by meddling. False stories. They just told you in the clips I played you that most of the tips that came in about the little girl were assumptions, theories, no facts. Red truck. You don't hear nothing else about the red truck. Not one thing. This was uploaded June 10th, 2023. Summer Wells missing from Tennessee. Updates and notices. As the 2-year anniversary of the disappearance of 5-year-old Summer Wells approaches, her family and law enforcement continue to think about her. Summer, who would now be 7, disappeared from her home in the Beach Creek area on June 15, 2021. Search crews hunted in the woods near her home for almost 2 weeks, but they never found Summer. This case has grabbed national attention with her parents, Dawn and Candace Wells, even appearing on the Dr. Phil show. As the anniversary of her disappearance grows, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and Summer's father speaks out about the case. TBI. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said in a statement that they continue to search for Summer. Currently, no new information is available. TBI agents continue to work alongside the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI investigating the circumstances leading to the disappearance of Summer Wells, said TBI Public Information Officer Leslie Earhart. Unfortunately, we have no new information to share publicly. We urge anyone with credible information to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Don Wells. Summer's father also spoke ahead of the anniversary. He said he was shocked when he was informed that Summer was missing. First, I was in shock because that's my little girl, and we were really close, Wells said. I felt like my heart had dropped all the way down to my stomach. It was that feeling you get in your gut, and I knew when I drove up to where our house is that she was gone. Wells said he and Summer were very close. Me and her were way closer than her and Candace, Wells said. She was all about me. If I was around, she was hanging around with me, quote unquote. Wells said his wife Candace is brokenhearted over everything that has happened. This just ripped her heart out because she loves our little girl, Wells said. Don said he has no absolute doubt that Summer was taken. So for the first time, you hear him using present tense and saying, she loves our little girl. Interesting. I just know for a fact that someone took her, Wells said. She would always be around the house by her swing or by the vehicles, but she wouldn't go further than that. So I knew without a doubt in my mind that somebody took her. If nobody took her, then she would be home. Wells said during the search, a dog tracked Summer sent to the road. Once again, this is not coming from TBI. This is the version from Don Wells. And as I said before, why has TBI not confirmed the scent of the child at the end of the road by canines? There haven't been any new developments, Wells said. All we know is that one of the police dogs followed her scent for the road, and that's absolutely all we have. I mean, there's been no evidence of the so-called red truck. Also, whoever took her did not have a cell phone with them. Did not ping. We know that because they've checked for cell phones in the area. Currently, Wells and his wife are staying with family in Arkansas. Wells said he loves his daughter wholeheartedly and is thankful to everyone who has supported his family. He is still hopeful that Summer will one day be found and return home. And this is by sixriversmedia.com. Tessa Worley. This is on a Facebook post. This is posted to Summer Wells' Parents Are Guilty, July 5th. This is by Teresa Vasquez. Okay, guys, check this out. I saw an uncut version of Jose Ramon's phone call, and he said the red truck with the ladder rack belongs to Don Boss. Don would drive it if he had to go more than 20 minutes away from his house for work. I think that explains the red truck with the ladder rack. It was Don, in my opinion, driving the truck, capital letters, on the day that Summer disappeared. 88 comments. Let's see what the people have to say. Thank you all for joining me. Oh, Lord, here we go. Tina says, Robin from the church. Her dad had a red truck with a ladder rack, though. Oh, God, these people are just, the English. God, I can't stand it. Oh, Lordy. Sorry. No, why? Okay, here we go. I think they fabricated the times altogether, says Jenny. Sabrina, I believe Don knew his boss owned a red truck with a ladder rack and used it as a decoy in their plot to get rid of Summer. See, this only adds to the fact that this was plotted out. Anyway, if Don was at work like he said, how would he know a red truck was on his property or near it? You see, once again, all the information that you have gotten pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells has come from Don Wells. Nobody else of a legal capacity has told you any relevant information. If you go back in time, Leslie lets you know, Ms. Leslie Earhart of the TBI, that this was a very baffling case, and that usually they would have a lead within a couple of days. But nothing. Don't you find it interesting that this area has spotty Wi-Fi? So how convenient is it for a child to go missing in a place where you can't even get a ping on a phone, allegedly, and the Wi-Fi is spotty? So then we have to say to ourselves, well, how do the people use the computer and ping off of Wi-Fi on their phones and their devices if the Wi-Fi, there's no Wi-Fi service? So then we have to go to landline. How many people have landlines? Because a lot of companies don't even offer landline services, and I've been hearing lately a lot of companies will not be offering landline services because a lot of people use cell phones. But that's not going to be good for people who in places like this that are rural. They need a landline. So let's ask that question. Don and Candace, why do you all not have a landline when you know you live in a place with spotty Wi-Fi? And did the police tell them that? They didn't get a ping off of anyone's cell phone. June 15th. Very interesting information. Does Don, or at that time, did his boss have a red Tacoma truck matching that make and model? How often did he use the truck? Did he have the truck June 15th? Did he go to work all day? Or did he work partial? Did he ever come back home, period, in a red truck or any other vehicle? What vehicle was Donald Wells driving on June 15th? Did he ever take his children with him to work? Because we have conflicting information pertaining to Boy H, from Boy H. See, this is what I'm saying about this story. How ironic that you have no concrete information about anything from law enforcement of June 15th. And whatever they do have, because I'm not here to say they don't have anything, they just won't tell us. Let me say that. Law officials have refused to tell us what they do have pertaining to the investigation. Because I refuse to believe they have nothing. But maybe what they have, they just don't want to share it to the public. Connie says, that's why the dogs didn't bark. Her scent was lost at the bottom of the driveway and she didn't scream. Maria says, I definitely think they did something to hide her body. Heather says, heard that interview and I agree with this also. Brenda says, both the parents and grandma should be made to take another polygraph test out of Tennessee. And if they disagree, they need to be locked up until they talk. The boys know something too. They should be made to talk. So anybody has common sense enough to know that TBI and the Sheriff's Department has talked to both parents, has talked to 3 of the children, has talked to grandma, has talked to the neighbors, has talked to his boss, has talked to anybody with a damn pulse that knew Summer Wells and the parents, because that's what investigators do. TBI came in on the case, so anybody that had any doubt about the Sheriff's Department should at least have some faith that TBI did investigate and talk to anybody that knew the little girl and lived in proximity of the Wells home. The point is, they're not going to tell us what everybody said. They're not going to tell us the questions they ask, because that's just the way it goes. They're not going to tell us anything. But it's just baffling that even if you can't tell us anything, you could at least just come out and say, hey, sorry, we don't have any leads. We don't have any new information. But when we get something that's viable, concrete, we will gladly share it to the public. Sue says, the thing that bothers me is how can a mother trash her own blood like garbage? At least give her a decent funeral with all the support they had. Now, one would say that's a very cruel comment because we don't know that the little girl's deceased. We haven't found remains of the child. So this person is saying, give her a funeral. Boy, that's harsh. Stacy says, something happened and they know. Look at how they acted on Dr. Phil. Candace acted like she was a deaf mute and he didn't shut up and she cried at certain points. Ask her why and she say nothing. Very valid point. Lisa says, the problem with that lie is that Jose wasn't there when Don was and would have no idea what Don drove. It's just another lie he made up that was debunked. So I'm going to say this. I don't know what car he drove, Don Wells, but obviously he drove something back and somebody would have to say, yeah, he did pull up in a vehicle when the report went in that the child was missing. So what was he driving when he pulled up to his house? Funny how this area has low coverage of Wi-Fi, but yet the police has come to that house numerous times for altercations between the two. And I won't doubt that a lot of the altercations took place at night because that's usually the time that people get crunk and drunk. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere in Beach Creek, cell phone has coverage at night, assumingly, when these two get drunk. But during the early evening, when a child goes missing, a cell phone has no workability. It can't connect to a tower. Now, I want you to think about that. Matter of fact, let's have a moment of silence for the Wi-Fi that refuses to work on June 15th after 6 p.m. Candace Blythe, Donald, Wells, please explain to me how you have made phone calls to law enforcement when you two have fallen out up there at 110 Ben Hill Road. I'll wait. You want me to believe that every time you two had an altercation, you went over to the trailer to call your mother, if indeed she was even on the property at the time of your altercations. We also know that you can make 911 calls from cell phones that are actively not working, and if the service is turned off. I'll wait. Do your children have cell phones of their own? I'll wait. How did you know the children were being accosted by some creepy guy that you've had on your property on June 15th if allegedly you were at work? So then one would have to say you were either on the property, if we believe Boy H's conversation that he said he got from Candace, or the children called you and had to been outside playing, and then they had to have called you by what? Messenger? Hey, Dad, we're outside playing. This creepy guy's up here. And another thing about that, let's go back in time. What person would not have ran back to the property? Come on with it, Queen. They ain't ready. What sane person would not have left their job to go see about their boys who are obviously alone if some guy is up there trying to touch them? I'm just going to let that sit right there. Let me try to read some of the comments. Thank you all for joining me. Happy holidays, everybody. You rushed home when Candace calls you to say Summer's missing. But you don't rush home, allegedly, to see about your boys being alone on a property with a grown man. It's very, very suspicious. Ingrid says, I've also always had a theory that Don left his Subaru, which has GPS tracking, at work and took an old work truck to leave work and do something. What he did, I don't know. Very interesting. And we have had conversations about the Subaru from people that the truck was left behind because of GPS tracking. I don't know. Then somebody brings Robin names up again. Her name up. She had one too. Someone they know well outside of the family, question marks. Tina says, I thought this all along. When Summer was to be watched by the boys that day, and the boy said she went downstairs, what's not saying she got into Candace's candy, ha, and passed? Well, I don't know. This is true. It was confirmed that his boss did indeed drive a red truck. Well, let's go there. Obviously, the red truck has no value in this story anymore. And it obviously had no value early on because the police has basically let us know they never found the driver of the truck. The timeline is iffy, and also the day. Their conversation is basically somebody who was in the area, who frequented the area, obviously saw the red truck. So that could have been a mail carrier, UPS driver, a plumber, I don't know, because they won't tell us who the person is naturally. But they saw the truck allegedly. So somebody had to have brought the information in. Now, what you have to ask yourself, the person who gave the information about the truck, did he or she call the information into authorities or they went in directly? Number one. Number two, did he or she give his or her name and was it verifiable who the source is? And once again, this information obviously has no value to this story, such as the scream that Jody Sue and her children heard. Ronnie Lawson tells you in his commentary he doesn't think it's related. So the reporter should have asked Ronnie Lawson. This is what I keep telling people about leaving stuff open-ended. You should have asked Ronnie Lawson, well, sir, if you don't think the scream had anything to do with Summer Wells, then what do you think the scream is in relation to? See, this is why I have a problem with reporting. It's not to show any disrespect to Ansley or anybody else that has worked this Summer Wells case or any other case. You can never leave a statement open-ended. If you ask Ronnie Lawson about the scream, he tells you, I don't think it has any relevance. You were supposed to come back and say, why not? Do you believe Jody Sue Brown? That's what you're supposed to say. Do you believe this lady's commentary? Do you believe she and the kids heard a scream? See, you don't even hear that. That's what I would have asked him. Well, do you believe the lady heard a scream? And then you wait for an answer. If he said no, then I would come back. Well, why not? Why don't you believe them? You hear that they talked to her several times. And what's sad about this story, or let me say pathetic, is that we go to this Jody Sue person, she gives them commentary, and then next thing you know, voila, she's on YouTube. See, this is what's wrong with true crime and stories alike. These people run to law enforcement with a version. You don't know if it's true or not. And then the next thing you see, they're on a YouTube panel. Somebody that went and found them. And then they go hopping from channel to channel to channel to channel. And then the next thing you know, they got their own YouTube channel. And you have to admit, it doesn't look good. Because what you have to ask yourself is this: were you even watching YouTube before this crime, this incident took place? Probably not. But nonetheless, it's a bad look. And you have seen this time and time again pertaining to this case and other cases. They go out, talk to the police, send in a tip, give their version, then they're on a YouTube channel. Then they're on Facebook, hooping and hollering and arguing with people. And then the next thing you know, they got a whole damn YouTube channel talking about Summer Wells. That's a bad, bad look. Because it's disingenuous to me to go from, hey, I just want to call and let you know I heard a scream. Yeah, me and my kids got up, we went out. I saw the mother out there, the boys out there, and we're trying to help find the little girl. How do you go from that to a YouTube channel, having your own YouTube channel? Please explain to me. And 2.5 years later, you still have people making videos about Jody Sue. The next thing you know, Boy Ash, his father jumping on the bandwagon. He's got a YouTube channel, already had one, and then he surfaces to give us information about his life, his lifestyle, his relationship with Allie, his relationship with his son. And the first thing I said to myself is, here we go. This is so pathetic. I know people want to know things about the people in the story. I get that. But when you start hearing so many versions of what Don did, what Candace did, what Grandis did, what the kids did, what the property looked like, who all stayed there, how long we visited there, it just goes on and on and on to the point you're exhausted at listening to versions, Facebook posts, people channel hopping. It's just a circus. And then it becomes a story about who the parents are, what the parents did, who the parents were having sex with, who liked who dated who. That's what the circus became pertaining to Summer Wells. It became a YouTube shit show / Facebook shit show / TikTok shit show / major shit show. And those are the type of stories I don't care for. Because as I've told people who follow this network, I don't talk about Summer Wells every day. And I'm not going to build my channel off of a little girl who I think may be deceased. I didn't build the channel off of one story anyway. I talked about life. That's what I talked about when I was uploading content 4 years or so ago on YouTube. Not missing children, dead children. And as fascinating as it is to some people, it becomes redundant to keep talking about the same thing every day. And that's why I said, you're either going to follow my network or you're not. You're entitled to do whatever you like to do. But you should have common sense to know no one person can talk about a little girl every day for 2.5 years. And there came a point when I didn't want to keep talking about her, and I didn't want to talk about her parents. I didn't want to talk about the sideshow because Jody Sue, Boy H's father, all these other random people, they're not the story. And I refuse to give them that power to give them attention. Because it seems to me that's what they wanted. And to me, they're no different than Don Wells. Because at some point, when you just go on and on and on, jumping from panel to panel and then making your own YouTube channel, it looks like to me, you're not really invested in finding Summer Wells. You're more invested in yourself and talking about what happened to you yesterday and what you cooked and what's wrong with your head and your foot, your back, your ankle. I'm sick, I'm dying, I'm in the hospital. This is what happened with my husband. See, it just went on and on to where it's not even about Summer Wells. We're not talking about some random ass person across the street from the Wells. How do we go from, hey, where's Summer Wells, to you're sitting on a YouTube channel talking about yourself in your damn pajamas? It's ridiculous. And I didn't want to be a part of that every damn day. Did I talk about some of these people at will? Sometimes. But the hell did I talk about them every waking day? Because in the end, they're not the subject. Back to the comments. Oh, Lord, help me, Jesus. I don't know why this thing. Okay, everybody. Still reading, going through the comments. Hold on. Somebody says, I think the parents are guilty too. Tabitha says, I agree that it didn't even happen on the day she was reported missing. I think something happened before this day and they had plenty of time to get their stories together. Well, see, the gist of the story with that is, if you're going to say that the child didn't go missing on the 15th, that this all happened a day before, then that means Boy H didn't tell the truth of the day that this happened, even though we know that he did not keep up with time well, and that's expected of a teenager because he didn't work a job, he didn't clock in anywhere to where he has to keep up with the time. Could it be that it was the day before and Boy H didn't remember? Because he did tell Chris McDonough that. I really can't remember what happened 3 weeks ago. Is that possible that the child went missing a day or two before? Boy H really didn't get the date right. Allie didn't get the date right, or they just don't want to admit they got the date right. I don't know. And the child was already gone before June 15th. I try not to dwell on this theory only because you would be a fool to go report your child missing in modern day on a day that you know she's already gone, dead, whatever, and you know they're going to ping your phones. They're going to also go to the places that you said you went to, and those people are going to bring up footage, and it's going to show, ma'am, you were here on the 14th or the 13th. See where I'm going? Now, let's dissect that for just a second. Just imagine that is true. Stay woke. Just imagine TBI gathered information with the cell phone pings, data, CCTV footage, and it puts Candace, Grandma Summer, Boy H a day before at these set locations. I would gladly think, just saying, that TBI would give that information to the public. We just want to let you know the little girl did not go missing on the 15th. That we have information to show she and her mother and this other boy and the grandmother were out and about on the 14th, the 13th, which, whatever the date is. Or would this agency say, we're not going to tell them anything. We're going to let them think we believe their story. So now I'm starting to wonder my damn self. Is this agency just refusing to give us a couple of bones because they do know something, but it's not enough to bring an arrest of any guilty parties? Because that's the one thing you don't want, is to bring forward information to the district attorney and you can't back it up and you don't feel like it'll be enough to get maybe an indictment by a grand jury. Is that what the issue is here? That Don and Candace or any other cohorts that they know of, TBI, Sheriff's Department, believe these two are involved, or one of the parents, which is whoever, but they don't have enough for an indictment. They have information that is contradictory of the date that the little girl went missing. Because that would be a mind blower if one day an arrest comes forward and we find out she'd been gone before June 15th. Now, that's going to coincide with, did the little girl go to church on that Sunday? Because I believe that was a Tuesday that she was reported missing. So you don't have much of a window, or let's say it's Saturday, because I believe that church goes to church on Saturday. So from Saturday up until Tuesday, what did TBI find as far as a blueprint of the parents' coming and goings and their pings? Let me say this to the viewing audience about plotting the murder of another human. You can plot the death of someone a year in advance, 2 years in advance, 6 months in advance. Investigators got to go back, depending on when they even think there could actually be a plot. And that's the thing about this story. You don't really know what happened. If it was a plot to get rid of the little girl a day before, a month before, if she actually was kidnapped, she wandered down to the road, somebody snatched her up. See, you really don't know. But let's just say this was a plot to get rid of her for whatever reason by the parents. You got to ask yourself, when did they start plotting to get rid of her? Because as I said, you could plot the removal of a human weeks in advance, a month in advance. But where you're going to mess yourself up is being out looking for a burial spot. Okay? Because just like with Korberger and the Idaho 4, he turned his phone on and off on that fateful morning. On and off. In the jurisdiction of the house. It don't turn back on until way late in the morning when he's already back in Washington. You see, I'm wondering if that's what was done in this case. Just saying hypothetical. The plot was planned. I already got in mind where I want to dump the little girl. And I done went out, found the place, got it ready. And then on the day that I decided to exact the crime, did these people go back and dump the body didn't take a cell phone, didn't even plan on getting stuck in the mud or stuck wherever, and then came on back and then waited until after 6 to start doing this phone shuffle of, I can't find my child. See, you don't even know what to think. You don't know what to believe because this area is spotty. So as I said before, this is the perfect place to get a child missing when you don't have Wi-Fi. And maybe they knew that because they lived there. How could they not know that? Hey, this is a perfect place to get her gone. It's rural, it's vast land, we don't have Wi-Fi. It wouldn't matter if I carried my phone to dump the baby. It ain't no sure resolution that they're gonna even see I was back over here dumping her. See, we don't know anything. And these two aren't talking. Their behavior is very suspicious. Very suspicious. But then the flip side of that, somebody could say, well, that's not proof that somebody harmed their child. Very true. Very true. But that's all we have to go on are the words from the parents. And I'm very leery of anybody who speaks on a crime and they were not there. Why do you have a mouthpiece who wasn't there? Candace Bly. Why is your husband the mouthpiece of this story? Number one. Number two, why do you have different versions of the child being in the basement versus outside? Which is it? But see, I know why we have different versions. It's because you gave different versions to law enforcement, which shows me deception. You either knew where she was or you didn't. You can't go from she went inside the house in the basement to she was outside barefoot. Well, how did she get outside without you knowing? See, it makes no sense because Candace told different versions. And this is a sign of deception when they start switching the story. So now we've got inside the basement, outside with no shoes, and then a 911 dispatch call, you took a run. This is what you do when you know you don't got your shit lined up. Checkmate. You went in there talking to law enforcement and you weren't ready for the bang, Candace Bly. Because your daughter can't be in all these different places at the same time. And if you turned your back for 2 minutes, then you couldn't see what she was doing in the house or outside. So which is it, Candace Bly? The little girl was inside of the basement or she was outside? What is the relevance of the red truck? Who was in the truck? Where was it parked? Who was inside of the truck? Who gave the tip? Did they have the right date? Did they have the right time? Or is it just a red herring? Was the father at the house or not at the house? Did he go to work? Who can prove he was at work, Jonesboro? See, you don't got shit. So you have to say to yourself, what are the odds that there's nothing to corroborate any of these statements from these two parents? Only TBI knows. And the fact that they said it was spotty Wi-Fi back there, as you heard in his news broadcast, that's bad, bad business. That's way bad business. I don't think they went to church that Saturday, okay? Very strange text messages between H and Candace days before the 15th. Very well could have been. In my opinion, she went missing before the 15th. Well, that will be my next question on my community board. Do you believe Summer Wells went missing before the 15th? I'm also going to ask you, do you believe TBI has some type of incriminating evidence against the Wells, one or both, and they just don't have enough to bring forward an indictment? Okay. Here is a comment from Janice. Does anyone have a theory on how or when an accidental unalive could have happened and fit into the timeline of the whole Grandis to the ER, picking up Hunter, pharmacy, smoke shops, swimming hole, grocery store, Hunter back home, then back to their home where they unloaded groceries. Summer wanted to plant flowers, went into the house, and then disappeared. When, capital letters, did they have time to make up that whole story and get everybody to basically repeat the same thing? Anyone have an opinion? Yeah? Damn good question, sweetie. Let's see what somebody has to say because she has 29 replies from that comment. Teresa, Ms. Vasquez, says, what if she wasn't there all that day? Don't forget what H said. He was good with the phone. He knew how to get into a phone and delete texts and changing time with the phone. Do you think he could have done that with the phone? Summer wasn't there. Don't forget that the little girl that got sick the night before, Summer got sick too. I don't know what that means. Well, it doesn't matter if he knows how to get into phones. You can't change what is already in the hard drive. Many people have tried it. It's just like all that stuff going on with the ORs and the TUIs. I can show you text messages all day that somebody threatened me and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But the one thing the TUIs didn't show was the responses from Mr. Orr. Exactly. Because you can erase the responses. So it doesn't matter that it says here, hey, I want $15 million. The point is, where are the text messages from him before that, after that? Because you can erase them. So you can go show somebody right now, see, look, she threatened me. But you also can erase your response. You can erase the text messages before the threat. But what you can't erase is what's in the hard drive. So Boy H doesn't have that type of techno savvy that he can go in hard drives and remove everything that's been said via conversation. So it doesn't really matter. Janet says there was 2+ hours from planting to when 911 was called. There honestly is no having to have time. They didn't spend a lot of time each place. Also, the timeline honestly isn't as late as what it appears. Maybe they planned that trip and day in advance. Maybe they did, I don't know. Someone says, I've always felt the photos of Summer asleep in the car were suspect. I don't think Summer arrived back alive. The only reason not to call for assistance is fear of losing the other children. Very good point. They are simply into their lie too deep. I don't think Candace called Don to tell him Summer was missing. I think it was Summer's not breathing. Something happened at the swimming hole that resulted in her disappearance, in my opinion. Okay. 2 replies. I agree. And when the suspicious red truck was reported, I think it was Don in his work truck taking Summer's body somewhere if he hadn't already disposed of her. I know others have that same opinion. Okay. Somebody replies, I agree. Tina says, the story could have been made up and C was talking to D as he drove home. It is a 45-minute trip from his work site that day. They drowned in theory, got into drugs, left in the vehicle, was left in the car asleep on a hot day, all possible. I think it was a planned abduction. Don very insisted on it. They did not want Summer to talk. Everybody's got an opinion here. Oh, Lordy. Holy crap, wouldn't that explain? Possibly he left Candace's Subaru that he took to work supposedly that day, left it at the job site, snuck home, did whatever and grabbed Summer and took her somewhere. Oh, God. God forbid her little body. Eva says, there's more holes in their story than Swiss cheese. They've been guilty since day one. They make me sick, says Tisha. Brandy says, that makes sense. I don't doubt it a bit. Sabrina, See, they planned Summer's disappearance death in advance. They just didn't come up with these lies in a day. My question is, why hurt your daughter or granddaughter? Tell me why. How could the three of them hurt Summer and Rose, a mom and a dad and a grandma? How can you kill your own daughter and sister? Grandis, as a mother and grandma, helped in getting rid of her own daughter and granddaughter. Grandis even looks for Rose to throw the law off course. Just question marks. Now, let me say this about Rose. 2 separate times, 2 separate states, 2 separate circumstances. I don't have any information that any of these people in this storyline are involved in the disappearance of Rose. Let me make that clear. Could it be somebody decided, hey, let's get rid of this girl child, or we already got a sister missing? Maybe somebody will think it's connected. See, you don't know how evil the mind can be. For all we know, if this is a planned death of a girl, they could have thought about that. Well, Rose is missing. They ain't found her killer. Maybe we get rid of the daughter, whatever the reason is. They'll think it's connected to Rose. So you just don't know, because we're just barely getting a glimpse into these people 2.5 years in. And what I've seen is nefarious, because when you start talking about drug dealing, drug selling, always talking about the Bible, and then you're jumping on YouTube channels, cursing and fussing and using derogatory language, you're showing me that you're not well equipped upstairs. You have mental problems, and that you're fake and you're fraudulent, and that you're using the media, the mass, as a way to get attention. And so I have to ask myself, why would you be doing that and your child is missing? Your priority should be trying to find your child, not YouTube hopping, not channel hopping, not jumping on Facebook, not changing different versions to suit the gossip. And that is what many perpetrators do. They change their version per what people are saying on the news and social media. And that seems to be the consensus here with Don and Candace. If you've noticed, the news clippings that I've played you are contradictory to what allegedly Candace said about the girl to WJHL. Because the kid can't be all of these places. She would only be at all of these places if you knew she had been to the basement, outside, down by a creek, down by a road. It's not to say she didn't make it home. She went outside to play, ran around the property. I don't know, because I wasn't there. But I know she's not here. And allegedly it's been verified that this is their child. They conceived this child. She was allegedly 5 years of age, and she has no longer been seen by anyone. And as I've told you before, it doesn't matter what the motive is, because there's no logical motive to murder a child. There just will never be a logical motive to kill a child. And anybody that's willing to risk killing a child because allegedly CPS had been snooping around is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Now, it's not to say that they wouldn't be stupid enough to kill their child for that reason, but why would I want to be a suspect in a whole baby missing? And I know these people have been knocking on my door wanting to get in my house, allegedly over an allegation. I want you to think about that. You're willing to be scrutinized by FBI, the Sheriff's Department, over a whole kid missing because of an allegation and CPS snooping around. You put yourself more at risk to go to prison for dumping the body, killing the kid, or whatever you did to her, versus an allegation of sexual assault. But I also know that when you have a warped mind, you will think of all type of crazy stuff, and you'll do crazy stuff, because as they say, desperate people do desperate things. So was CPS snooping around, banging on the doors? They ignored them. They got scared. They figured, oh, they're coming. But see, that's my thing. If I don't know what the allegation is, why would I kill my girl child? See, this is why I always tell people, think about what you're saying. In order for them to say, I'm going to kill this kid, they'd have to know somebody called CPS for an allegation against Summer. How would you know that? You would not know that. See, I chop up every rumor, every scenario. And you can't prove that. Because they would have to admit that they molested the little girl. Because even if you say, oh, CPS been snooping around, you now are telling people that you did have something to do with the little girl getting missing. Because you can't have one without the other. So have they said on a live stream, CPS had been snooping around? Because if Don Wells or Candace has said that, then they have just told you why they knocked their kid off. And there's no way I won't believe law enforcement did not inquire about that being said, if indeed Don or Candace said that on a live stream. You have just told people why you killed your kid. And that would be a fool. We also have to realize these are foolish people. And that sometimes the talking and wanting attention, you do slip and tell things to allude that you are the perpetrator of the disappearance of the little girl. And I must say, a lot of you believe that theory. So as I said, I'm going to say it again. If these two have said that on a live stream, you just told people that you killed your child because you knew they heard that you had been molesting your child. And the flip side of that is, who would be the person to go tell that he was molesting his child? So you got to make it all make sense, and you got to have a receipt. You have to have a receipt to say, such and such called saying they were touching the little girl. Because how do you know it wasn't Candace touching the little girl? See, you don't know. And you would have never known or assumed an SA went on in that house until the sister came forward. That's why I keep trying to tell everybody, pay attention. You didn't know nothing about Don and Candace until Summer was reported missing. And people started digging and talking and giving their testimonies about dealing with them. But right now, had his sister never came forward, you would have never known his past, and you would have never assumed anything about an SA, because you would not have had that information. So this is why I always tell you to think before assuming stuff. Always think about the information and think of the messenger. And I also have a problem with the sisters, because my thing is this. You all have gone and done just what everybody else has done. You've gone from talking about Don, what he did, didn't do, to being on YouTube, talking about cooking and all of that. So I'm looking at you like your priorities are jacked up. How you go from talking about a little girl missing to talking about cooking dinner and different type of recipes? That's weird to me. But Chris, he was upholding that nonsense too. Yeah, I'm going to say it because it's weird looking. Everybody's played off of Summer Wells. Don't you see? A lot of people, I don't say everybody, a lot of people have played off her disappearance. And allegedly, everybody's throwing daggers at this one, this one, this one, this one. But you all have played a role in getting something out of the little girl missing. So one can't talk about the other. Let me pull up something else I had planned to read to you guys. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to quit reading those posts because they get a little dreary in conversation. Red truck, what is the bearing? What is the truth? I think this is a YouTube video. Let me see. One moment, everybody.
Bluetooth connected.
Okay, let's see this tip here. I thought I was going to be able to play this. Hold on, let me see.
It's been 3 months since Summer Wells was last seen at her home.
Oh, Lord. Now, why is the volume going down? Hold on, you guys. For some reason now it's not playing the... Now the volume went down. This is crazy. I hate all this casting from one device to the other because this is not... This is strange. It's not... Hold on. For some reason the volume goes down. I really want to play this information. Let me go back in. 1 second, everybody. I have to go to WJHL because it's on the way I'm going to find it. Hope everybody is well. I don't know why that volume went down. It's very strange. Let's see, what is this? 2 years ago, 3 months. They got so many videos. Well, I can't find. They got so many videos, I can't even find it. Hold on, let's see. Let's see. Let's go back to the night they called, because I'm trying to find this article too, that I can't, having problems finding it. I don't know, the volume's low on here for some reason. I don't understand why this volume is low. This is strange to me. I think it's the network. That's the problem. Anyway, I'm just going to read it. You be en route to 11010 Ben Hill Road off Beach Creek. It will be first resident on your right in reference to a missing 4-year-old girl. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, and now they can't find her. They have been yelling for her. She has been gone for about 10 minutes now. So then there's some discrepancy about that. So she's not 4, she's 5. So see, this is why I said all these discrepancies. So now we're going to do what? Blame the dispatcher for not understanding what the mother said. That's why you're supposed to ask questions as a dispatcher. What did you say? Did you say you took a run? You took a walk? Where did you go? because you're supposed to be trained in how to talk to people. So if a person tells me they took a run, I say, you mean you took a run running, or you went running by car, you left the property? So either way, she said something to that dispatcher about leaving that property. I'm not about to sit here and believe the dispatcher made that up. Why would a dispatcher make that up? I don't know why I can't find this article for some reason. This is just so weird to me. $74,000 reward fund, only to be dismantled by these crazy ass people. Jesus, this is so bad. People know how to mess up a case, I must say. Messed it all the way up. I'm trying to find this article. That's what I'm looking for. Because the volume from this computer is not well, and somehow these WJHL videos they're low in volume. Let me go back in the search engine. Clear my search. Let's see, 3 months. Hold on, everybody. I have to do all this typing. Okay. Sorry it's taking so long. Let's see. Around. Oh, Lord. Things we go through to get information out. Yeah, let me see. This might show it here. There we go. Find it. Okay, this is WJHL. This was 2 years ago. I'm sorry, this volume is low. I don't know what's going on with this network.
That statement has remained the same since that initial night, launching a massive ground search in Amber Alert on the following day. Everybody's a person of interest. We find Summer. Authorities said all possibilities.
Everybody's a person of interest until we find child. That was June 2021. This was uploaded 2 years ago by WJHL. So right there you hear from Ronnie Lawson. Everybody was a person of interest. No way she would leave the property, he says. 50, 60 feet away. I guess he's saying his wife was away from the little girl. So that's why people question this version and then all this extra stuff we've been hearing from the news. You all have told different things to authorities. You all told different versions to it. The dispatcher versus the police versus the TBI. I think that's obvious.
a very dense ground cover, causing search efforts to become very difficult, taking extra time to cover these areas adequately, exhausting teams a lot quicker, in turn causing longer for these grounds to be covered.
Press conferences continue until June 24th. While every case is different, this one is definitely outside of the norm. Typically, in an investigation like this one, we have some idea of where the case is headed and what might have happened within a few days. On June 26th, the TBI asked for help finding the driver of a Toyota pickup truck that was seen in the area of Ben Hill Road and Beach Creek Road here in the early afternoon to late evening on Monday, June 14th or Tuesday, June 15th. They stressed that this person is not a suspect, but could have seen something.
So let's go back to about the red truck. 14th through the 15th.
They stressed that this person is not a suspect, but could have seen something. Press conferences continued until June 24th. While every case is different, this one is definitely outside of the norm. Typically, in an investigation like this one, we have some idea of where the case is headed and what might have happened within a few days. On June 26th, the TBI asked for help finding the driver of a Toyota pickup truck that was
June 26th, that is 11 days later. Who called in the tip about the red truck? Was it a neighbor? Was it somebody trying to throw the case off? Or somebody who gave their identity, legal government name, and it was factual information, but law enforcement couldn't find the truck, couldn't find the driver, couldn't find verification.
seen in the area of Ben Hill Road and Beach Creek Road here in the early afternoon to late evening on Monday, June 14th or Tuesday, June 15th.
So Monday, the 14th is mentioned here. See, this is pivotal because sometimes we think we remember things well, but we don't. We're all guilty of it. You can be telling a story and then somebody will say, no, it wasn't that day. It was Monday. It was this day. And then you have to think back and say, oh yeah, it was that day. I lose track of time a lot as of late. So it's easy to make. Did the person who brought the information about the truck get the information mixed up that perhaps they saw the truck at the driveway or the area, the road on the 14th on a Monday instead of Tuesday, the 15th? This is, oh Lord mercy. Not a suspect, but could have seen something. One thing we've learned also in investigations, especially I think back to the DC sniper. When they got information that the DC sniper was the black man had been the one shooting the people in the DC and Maryland area, the first thing they told the public, they gave them a description of the vehicle. And the one thing they said, I'll never forget this, they said, we are just wanting to speak with this person that owns this vehicle. They made sure to let it be known whoever drove this description of a car, truck, van, whatever, was not a suspect. But all along, they did know he was the suspect. But they didn't want to alert him or the public because for the obvious reasons. He's out here killing people. So we're not going to say, oh yeah, we're looking for such and such. But see, the flip side of that is other news reports of people that's on the run or out here killing and shooting people, they get a description. They'll give their government name. They'll give a picture of them, or they'll give a description of them in their what their car they're driving, or last seen in a car, their driver license, photo ID, a mug shot, whatever they have available. So it depends on the agency handling the case to decide if they want to go ahead and say, yeah, we're looking for Pookie, Ray Ray, whomever. We believe they are the suspect, or they just give a description of the car and say, hey, this is what we're looking for, but they already know who the person is, but they don't tell him. They don't tell his name. They don't tell his description. They just say, hey, we're looking for this white van with a ladder on top. But they already know who is driving that van, but they don't tell the public. Now, that's what they did with the DC sniper. This case here, what were they really saying? I'm just curious. Because you don't know who gave the tip, You don't know what's the actual date that they saw the truck, if it was the 14th or the 15th. What is the truth to the red truck? Is it relevant to this little girl missing? Was it near the house, the driveway? Because it can't be nothing but the driveway or right at the edge, or driving on the road or sitting on the road. Was somebody stranded? Was somebody just sitting in their phone talking on the phone? Did the person get out of the truck and walk around the property and it was just left sitting somewhere suspicious? What is the relevancy of the red truck?
Summer's parents believe someone took her on June 28th, 13 days after her daughter went missing. Candace flies for one camera for the first time.
Sorry, it's low. I don't know why this video is so low, but you can verify it yourself if you need to. See how she makes that face? She was just gone. I believe that when she says that. Look at all that land. Now, summer months. The child could have been anywhere.
Drop her off at a safe place.
The following Tuesday, the Churchville Rescue Squad announced the sheriff's office would be taking over search operations. Earlier that same day, on July 27th, Summer's parents told us after their juvenile court hearing that their sons had been in the custody of the Department of Child Protective Services since the week before.
I have one go. Day one is 5 hours.
No one with the TBI or Hawkins County Sheriff's Office was available for an interview. Summer's parents, John Wells, and Candace Bly, didn't return my phone calls or messages when I asked to speak with them. And now there are no trespassing signs posted up about them.
I understand you're curious about the case or investigation. Speculate. I understand that.
The TBI is still looking for the driver of that Arizona pickup truck. It's a red overland 1998 2000 model, possibly a Tacoma, with a full red ladder back with rifles and truck bed. And the beach community
So obviously, that was 2 years ago. They put up the signs of no trespassing with the camera on the sign after the little girl went missing, which really doesn't mean they actually had cameras up there. There you have it. And then there's the Queen. 3 months later, still no Summer Wells. Oh, Lordy. I'm going to end this live stream because I'm already 2 hours in, 2.5 hours in. Thank you all so much for following this network and listening to the information. I appreciate the support. As I said, this week I wanted to bring content pertaining to this child missing 2.5 years later. She will have a birthday in February of 2024. That's just 2 months. She will be 8. It is a holiday season. No updates, no whereabouts, no sightings. Her brothers are still in the state's care, do not know where they are located in the state of Tennessee. This would be a trying time for children who are separated from their parents. Because as I've told you before, I don't have to like the Wells. You don't have to like the Wells. You could actually like them, support them. But in the end, they are the parents of these children. And children are resilient when it comes to liking people, accepting people. A child can still want to be in the company of a person that abuses them, beats them up, criticizes them, because they're all they know. And every child is different. One child might not want to live there. The other child might still want to stay with their parents. And what would be sad to know if these kids still want to be in the company of Candace and Don. But as I said, they are all that they know. This is a troublesome case. I don't know where this case is going. I don't have a clue. As of late, talking about Summer, my mind has wandered to different scenarios of what could have happened to her. I tell myself, what if you're wrong? What if these people had nothing to do with it? What if indeed somebody kidnapped her? It's one of their cohorts or one of their associates that hung around them or was mad at them about something or was a pedophile. You also hear the pedophiles were interviewed, interrogated, that, lived in the area. Nothing. And when you hear the lady speaking from the TBI, usually they have some information within a couple of days. And everybody knows that's true. That's been said by many law enforcement agencies. Usually within a couple of days, we have something to go on, some identifying factor. And that's how an Amber Alert is issued in a case. They have something to show who has the child, such as a truck, a van, a bicycle, motorcycle, something. Because people have argued, well, why wasn't an Amber Alert issued in this case? It's because there was nothing available to say who took the child. So now I got to ask that with this Amber Alert. What was it in this case that warranted the Amber Alert? Because 1 minute she's in the basement. So that's no identifying factor. Then it went to she was outside with no shoes on. That's no identifying factor. Somebody says they saw him in the road. That's not an identifying factor. Identifying factor is that you have a suspect seen with the kid, seen putting them in the car. And you don't have that here. So now I have to question, how did this become an Amber Alert? Because to this day, nothing has been verified that a person was seen with her in a car, on a bike. It's very scary. Once again, no updates. No updates by Mr. Ronnie Lawson's office. Why not? Is it because you don't have anything? So you figure, well, no need of going on the air to say we don't have anything. But I would respect you more if you just said you didn't have anything. And that's what's so baffling about this case is that you're 2.5 years in. It's been nothing but rhetoric and gossip. Most of it has come from your own Mr. Don Wells. He's helped exacerbate this case alongside other meddling individuals. And you have to admit it's strange. But then all I tell myself is, look at where she allegedly went missing. In the middle of nowhere, literally the wilderness. Let's just keep it real. You see this one little house sitting at the corner of Ben Hill Road. Don't know what those people know. But in the end, it's still barren once you go past that house and go up that road. The houses are tucked into the woods, up gravel roads. You can't see anything up there in the summertime. That's the reason why this was the perfect crime. No matter what happened to her, it was the perfect crime because of the location, number one. Number two, spotty cell tower Wi-Fi coverage. And a killer abductor would know that. Because wouldn't you know your situation that you put yourself in to commit a crime? That's the whole purpose of doing your homework. So if I was somebody who was wanting to hide my child, get rid of my child, I know what the area is about. I know what's going on in this area. And as I said, how convenient is that you are in an area where a child is gone and there's no Wi-Fi coverage, no cell phone pings to retrieve. How convenient is that? No CCTV footage on a tree house, because the way it's set up, the only way you get CCTV footage is probably that house that sits at the corner when you turn into Ben Hill Road. That person would have to have cameras on the side of their house to show cars coming up and down the road at the time that the little girl went missing. And I bet you they don't have those type of cameras on their house. This is a crazy story, but I think the reason it is crazy is not because of the gossip and the YouTube BS. It's because it was orchestrated and the people involved knew the demographics of where they were, and they knew it would be hard to track the little girl. And who better to exact this crime than somebody that knows the victim? This is too off the beaten path for a stranger. And it's not to say that strangers don't go out to rural areas. It's too risky. So my theory is that the disappearance of Summer Wells, the culprit or culprits knew her. They know her. They knew she would be at home. They knew she would be on the property. I'm not here to say she was upstairs, downstairs, in the basement, in the mama's trailer, on the property, at the creek. I'm not here to say where she was on that property. I'm just going to say the suspects knew she was there. That's what I'm going to say. If I'm to believe she left that property. Second theory is she never made it home from the swimming hole. Boy H was dropped off, if we're to believe his account of being with Candace. And she got gone before coming home. And the mother made it home, waited whatever time she got home, and made this desperate phone call after 6 p.m. to her husband, and then he called 911, and then the rest is history. And once again, the sad part of this story is there is no verification of this child making it to Ben Hill Road that afternoon, leaving the property, or even an abduction. And TBI has also let us know they cannot confirm an abduction. That's why Leslie said in the first couple of days of investigation, we usually know where the investigation is going. Don't you find that strange? No leads, no cell phone pinging, nobody to say somebody went to the house, left the house, broke in, drag marks, blood, something. Nothing to tell you going or coming of the parents. It's not to say they don't have that information, but it has not been released to the public, let's say. I would pray they do have something pertaining to the comings and goings of cell phones by the parents. But then the flip side of that is maybe they don't, because as they said, Wi-Fi is spotty out there. And when you look at the vast land, you see the guy with the rescue squad showing you the background, the layout of the area. The child could have been anywhere, whether alive or deceased. You would have no idea because the foliage was in full bloom June 15th. And that's the dire part of the case. Look what you had to work with. Dense foliage, heavy terrain, high grass, heat. The perfect setup to get rid of a child. The perfect day to get rid of a child. The perfect scenery to get rid of a child. Can't even get Wi-Fi. Stay woke, everybody. Can't even get Wi-Fi. Now you think about that. Because if it's a random person, listen to me carefully. If I've never been back in Beach Creek and I'm out wanting to be a kidnapper, sexual assaulter, how am I going to know what's going on back there as far as pings and Wi-Fi unless I've been back there? To know that I could either keep my phone on or keep my phone off. Did Summer Wells go missing June 15, 2021, or she was gone before then? And if she went missing before then, by whom and what day? Did Boy H tell the truth about being with these people on June 15? Did law officials verify he was with them, Grandma, Summer, and Candace, on June 15? Do they have CCTV footage of them going about in the town of Kingsport on June 15? Or is there discrepancy in the dates, but they have yet to tell us anything? Will they confirm the day of June 15 and the visits of different places in Kingsport, Tennessee? And why has Don Wells been the orchestrator of the news of this story? And why not the mother? And I want to say this to you, Candace Bly, because the queen doesn't miss a beat. You have made calls from that hill in altercations with your husband, and somehow police found their way to your house. But on the day that your child goes missing, you can't get any coverage to use Wi-Fi, which I find very ironic. Second, you could not get Wi-Fi allegedly. What was wrong with going down to Jody Sue's house or the people at the corner to call and ask to use their phone or their cell phone? Bingo card. I'm a lot of things, but dumb ain't one of them. In case of an emergency, you cannot get Wi-Fi, or your landline won't work, your cell phone won't work. What kept Candace Bly from leaving that damn house and make it to the drive to use their phone? Thank you very much. You have been listening to the Vault XL.